Yeah, I know that damn intro's loud as all get out. I mean, it's not been a priority for a while for me to go and do anything about that, but you know, it is what it is. Hey, I'm Rick, and this is my very rarely viewed History Revisited channel. And that's in part my fault because I have not been very proactive about adding new material and stuff for a while. I've been obsessed with my other channel, YouTube, that's more about my gaming hobby obsession of things like BattleTech and Dungeons and Dragons and etc. 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 Anyway, I'm going to talk about something interesting: UFOs. Now, y'all, if you haven't seen my series on Bob Lazar and his claims about Area 51 specifically, but the related material that goes with them as well, I would at least recommend going to view them. Are they good? I don't know. Nothing I do is good. It's just what it is. It's my best effort with the time and energy and drive to do what I got. Anyway, it's been much more in the open, this topic of unidentifiable flying objects or unexplained aerial phenomenon or whatever the hell it is that they are calling it now, because you know the government likes to change the acronyms every generation or so. It just, I don't know, because, and we see the Tic Tacs videos. I tried to find some stuff I could download, and I didn't find a whole lot of stuff right off the bat that was really friendly to what I wanted to add in here, video-wise and image-wise and stuff like that. I mean, there's some stuff I would love to have included, just because you know, the interesting episode or aspects of what's going on out there, and yet I have no idea how the hell to transfer that stuff over so I can see it. It's like this thing I'm looking at now. There's one image, and that's all I got in here. And I saved like 5 or 6 images, but I don't know where the hell they went. They saved 2. All right. So anyway, we're talking about the investigations like last year, and they were going on about the Tic Tac UFOs that the Navy pilots have seen, and the phenomenons that many long distance passenger liner pilots have experienced. Just very recently, like in a week or so, this is June 24th. I think this Saturday the 24th of June, 2023, if this video goes down long enough. They had some folks in California or something in pure panic called 911 to say that not only was there some kind of unidentified thing going on outside, but there were people out there too. And one of the dudes had to have been 10 foot tall. I mean, and they were huge, and they were not of this world, according to the people who made the call. And they were emphatic. They were emphatic, and even the police who responded weren't sure what they were expecting. And most people, like, you know, nudge and a wink and roll the eye kind of thing and go, yeah, sure. But you just never know. And ironically, they catch a burst of light on the body camera of the police officers. This is a government official recording of something quite bright and luminous shooting across the sky as the cops arrive at the location. And of course, the creatures are no longer there, and the machines, the thing is no longer there, and they're quick. The officials are quick to say it was not quite. They didn't label it hoax. Other people labeled it a hoax, but they were quick to dismiss it. And what really were they going to do? Most modest-sized police forces and the local governments, they're not suited to deal with anything like this if it's legitimate. That's what government secret agencies are supposed to deal with, or so we spend lots and lots of our government taxes on, right? And so, yeah, we've also heard numerous pushes in Congress in the last year to do investigations, to have hearings and what have you on what does the government know about UFOs, and of how, of course, how they would absolutely want to tell you the honest truth. If we had something like that, we would be more than happy to let everybody know because you need to know. Bullshit. I call bullshit by the spadeful. I live in Iowa. I am surrounded by cows. I've shoveled bullshit half my life. I'm telling you, I know it. I see it. I smell it. Bullshit is bullshit, and bullshit. Now, the government would never openly acknowledge that they ever had anything even remotely unidentifiable in their possession for a numerous set of very valid reasons. And there's good reasons why the lion's share of the maniac mob mass that is Americans today have no business knowing some things like that. It's just not in our interest to know, and we can't cope with the fallacies and the lies and the BS that goes on nonstop today on our news and on the and on the freaking in Washington and in local politics. It's absurd. We're slowly in the process of destroying our country as the country it was intended to be, and majority of us are just complacent and letting it happen, or we're blind to it. So when I look at this stuff about UFOs throughout history, and talk about revisiting history in the literature, in very old artwork and mosaics and wall carvings that are thousands of years old, all through history, mythology, stories, and the natives of the various indigenous, tribes of the world have stories about visitors and people from beyond and bird people and things that by today's standards we would have a lot of answers for, but by their ancient standards they had no freaking clue how to justify it. And in many aspects, a lot of that became religion. When you absolutely do not know how to explain something that is beyond your capability to really comprehend, you make shit up. And over time, that made up stuff becomes something that was never really meant to be. Twisted into something that other people who, for politically advantageous reasons, for things like power and wealth and control and position and fame, have turned it into their version of what might be to fight a cult today. That's why I was born again Christian, born and raised a Christian in a Christian family with lots of ministers in the family. Both my grandparents, most of my aunt and uncles, all were registered legal ministers. Do weddings and funerals and sign paperwork and all that other crap because they're accredited. And faith is one thing. The organized church that religion represents is not faith, my friends. It's not faith. I have faith that in the great cosmos of the universe, we are not the only ones out there. It's just like I have faith, God or the goddess in her ultimate infinite wisdom had no intentions for us to be pickled up in one little corner of the universe. But she had no intentions of giving us a leg up either. It's all about evolution, trial and error, and hard work. Things to get done, things change, things advance. Sometimes you take 4 steps backward, and sometimes you fall down. And sometimes you come to an abrupt end. How many variants of the human civilization or not the human race have there existed on the Earth the last couple million years? We were related to the Neanderthals in some way. They, that's what they say. That's what they claim. I don't know. I'm not their specialist, but I have no reason to doubt the people who spend a good chunk of their life becoming the specialists in that. And there's multiple specialists that don't always get along with each other, but they're all on board with, or enough on board with their version of how they view it that there's a general consensus, which is a lot of what our truths are actually based off of, is general consensus. So when people talk about, oh, there's no way alien life could exist. There's another dude on the internet that's pretty well known, famous. Once again, I don't have his name down, but he's going on about that he'd solved the Fermi paradox. Google that on Amazon, solving the Fermi paradox, and his video will pop up, probably one of the top 5. And it's pretty horrific and sobering when you look at his conclusion as to why we're not tripping over aliens, and it isn't like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's because between fault of their own, obviously, nuking yourself into oblivion, setting loose some pandemic that wipes you out, all that's a viable thing, and then you marry that to the natural disasters that occur on a regular basis. That's what makes our planet so damn fragile. An asteroid hit has reset things on this planet numerous times throughout history, and that's a historical fact proven by lots of people who don't get along, who claim that they're specialists, who all more or less agree and gather a consensus on, right? So the same thing goes with sitting there and saying the UFOs. Well, they could be from other planets, they could be from the future, they could be from the past, they could be from alternate dimensions, they could be completely from our imaginations and figments thereof. That's all possible. But the fact that there's a whole lot of less than tongue-in-cheek people today talking about this more than they used to be, that's something to wake up and go, maybe there's more going on here than what we're led to believe or what we're willing to accept. It's a lot of things in reality. Our realities are based on fictions of our own creation. My reality and your reality are not the same thing. I spent a big chunk of my lifetime fretting about all the basic things that most people do too. I mean, that's also a reality. In addition to that, I was deal with a small company that my boss owns, and I live, every week I worry that he's going to croak, and then we're going to have to find something else to do. And I have confidence I can do that, but change is a painful thing, and when you don't have much of a cushion to fall back on, it can be hard. It can be very, very problematic. Things are growing along right now at a steady pace, and we're holding our own, and I kind of want to keep it that way. As long as fucking possible, excuse my French. So when I talk to a lot of people out there, it's like politics today. The absolutes are running the show right now. It's my way or no way, and my way, no matter how it doesn't seem fair to the majority of people. Well, F you and you're fair. This is this kind of. It just shames me. It shames me to no end the way our country's been treating itself and each other, and where we're going in this political environment. And both sides are to blame, and they have been for a long time. I've been an independent for most of my life. I tend to vote for who makes sense, and I have voted Republican, and I have voted for Democrats. And I also know that politicians are liars. They all lie because that's part of the definition. We make jokes about it, people. It's a jokey thing. So do you think Trump's in his stash of illegal government, or his legal personal government copies, or whatever the hell you want to claim it, has information on actual UFOs and anything related to that topic that the government was shared with that man? Hell no. President's top secret clearance doesn't go that high. That's something I keep telling people too. There's many levels of top secret clearance, and they're compartmentalized. So not only do we have layers this way, we have layers this way. So you could have a layer, and they can come together. This one comes over, and this one's coming up and come over here. So you need to have a whole series of different things to get into that. And even then, how much of that's knowledgeable. And there's some downsides to that uber secret stuff. I mean, we talked about that in some of the videos we did with Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar acknowledges the downside with doing research and development, for example, is when you tightly compartmentalize things for security reasons, and you isolate people from the rest of their peers, the chances of finding growth or knowledge or real breakthroughs scientifically are much more limited or less likely to occur because you're unintentionally stymieing that sort of thing. So, did these people see a UFO in their backyard? Were you there? Were you there? It's easy to say that, oh, they imagined it. Maybe they did. You know, there was a lot of them there. They all imagined the same damn thing. Grant you, at night, lighting's strange. Things can appear to be that they're what they're not. We all run into that. I used to have a job down on the east side of the east side of downtown Des Moines, and it's in a little shopping mall. And I hated the damn thing because it's only 1,000-gallon interceptor, but it's in the parking lot drive right there in the parking lot where they just wouldn't stop parking on it no matter what time of the day and night it was. And so it got to be a bitch. But getting there, you turn the corner, and there's a Mexican restaurant or a grocery store on the corner, and it's colored. The whole place is brightly colored, paint wise, and on the wall next to the front, just around the corner from the front door, they have painted an 8-foot tall guy. There's this perfect painting of an 8-foot tall guy, and he's basically waving at you. So you come out of the dark alley that's behind this damn mall and turn in to go around back, and you turn the corner, and there's this giant dude standing there. And you come around it from a block up the street, and it looks like a real person standing there. First few dozen times I went through there, every now and then it would startle me because I wasn't expecting to be somebody standing there, let alone somebody that damn big, right? Even though it's an illusion, right? So the fact is, what are these things? It's easy to say, I don't know. Are they illusions, figments of our imagination, technology beyond our deal, whatever? What I do know is a lot of our government has no effing clue what the hell these things are. 2, a lot of foreign governments do not know what the hell these things are. And there are lots of these things. Lots of these things. These are not random things. These things occur quite frequently. So when we look at the idea of pan-galactic travel, or traveling, through, faster than, behind, below, inside, outside of light, I don't know. Obviously, there's some kind of propulsion system that allows beings or things to come here frequently and on a regular basis from great distances away. Or they have bases located very close by that these things can come on a regular basis because it seems like every few weeks something's cropping up, sometimes more often. Granted, 1 out of 100. So 99 things out of 100 are likely to be explained as phenomenon or quirks or bad lighting or imaginations or too much Jack Daniels or I don't know, raging hormones, whatever. It's that 1% of 1% is still a significant percent in the grand scheme of things. And all we're seeing is, like I said, a continuation of stuff that we were seeing all the way back through recorded history of humanity. And it's just like how much we've lost. Officially, quote, officially it's been about a little over 11,000 years since the last major ice age finally gave up the ghost. And the environment radically changed. Now, what we don't know is the level of civilization and the extent of civilization that existed. And it did exist in some form prior to this last ice age that screwed up a lot of people, right? When the sea levels changed dramatically, they had dropped considerably. So we know that a lot of civilizations, especially early on, tended to be close to the waterline because that's where more resources were found. When suddenly giant sheets of ice that covered a third of the planet start to disappear, and we don't know exactly how fast. I mean, it's speculated that it was hundreds of years for all the ice to disappear, but I believe it came in bits and pieces and bursts. We also have plenty of evidence of some pretty potent flooding that occurred during that period of time, that latter part of as the Ice Age ended. So we don't know what kind of civilizations prior to how significant, how size they were, how well developed they were, because these sort of stuff, you put a mile of frickin' ice on top of New York City, and I guarantee you nobody's going to ever know New York City was there after that ice recedes. They just not, unless there's record evidence of New York City's existence someplace else on the planet that didn't get bulldozed down by and ground into fine powder by 1,000 pounds of ice. Yeah, you never know until you know it was there. So, what are they? Are they true? I'd like them to be true. Part of me likes the idea of them being out there. The other part of me is terrified that humanity is our own worst enemy. And they go, well, why don't, if they're there, why don't they come? Why don't they contact? Why don't they? Well, how do we know they haven't? And the deep state bullshit and the dark Brandon memes and the other bullshit aside, some of the behavior of people that are really shouldn't behave the way they are make you wonder if they're not possessed in some way. You talk about the Christian right wants to scream about demon possession. By every definition, some of your frickin' people that you got put in office qualify as demon possessed, right? It's just like some of your not so well thought out, socially driven stupidity that you're pushing right now because you got a handful of your base think it's the greatest thing since hot bread. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's just see how Florida deals with their sudden unemployment crisis. And you think it's bad? No, the entire country's going to take it in the ass because of DeSantis. When the price of your vegetables and fruit start to go through the roof, you think you're paying a lot of money for orange juice now. You wait. And they don't got nobody to pick half those crops, and they don't have anybody to deliver those crops to the markets, and nobody to run those processing plants to process that stuff into long-term storable items like cans. Not to mention, I've seen a lot of heat coming out of their construction industry too. Are really going to cripple. They're going to hurt their economy down there in Florida. Something fierce. And you know what? Santa don't give a damn because what's he gonna do? Hey, Florida. Hey, your governor wants to leave. Even your governor knows how crappy Florida's become, and it's going to get worse, and he knows that, which is why he's running for president. Think that. Because you think he's going to give he gives a flying F about anything you guys have got or do? As long as it keeps him in power, that's all he gives a shit about. He's a dumbass. So, is he, or is he an alien being alien controlled? Who gives a shit? Right? It's just further, this sort of stuff. If you were an enlightened, intelligent being with millions of years worth of evolution on your plate, and you came and seen us, the hot mess monkeys, flinging their shit around on the damn planet Earth, would you come and say hi? Honestly, would you? Would you be stupid enough to come down here and say hi? No. Let alone, let's just say what happens if one of your people already came down here and said hi, and the stupid shit flinging monkeys that call themselves the intelligent species on the planet grabbed your people, chopped them up into pieces, and put them in jars so they could figure out what the hell it was they were looking at. How many times did you come back for that party? How many times you got to, you got to mount a rescue effort to get your body parts back from your lost friends? Yeah. Well, I tell you, I think part of me thinks that we have a change in culture. Whether you want to call it what you want to call it, I don't care. And lots of people have lots of things that, they have lots of titles and lots of monikers and whatever, nom de grace for whatever it is they want it to be. But there's a change, and it's not necessarily for the good, and some of it's for the very bad, without a question. Very bad change. Very intuitively unprogressive, in my opinion. We're backsliding something fierce. and especially in social morals, and this absolute mindset. It's my way or no way. Where we got people literally screaming out there to start pulling triggers. You know, right? So now they want the corporations to legally be able to vote. What? They're going to get a vote? Okay, so the entire conglomerate called PepsiCo gets one vote? I don't see how that makes a freaking bit of difference unless you start saying, oh, they want a seat at the Senate, and they want a seat in the House too, because they should have that because they represent so much. Really, wouldn't that be And yet all your rank and file have the right to vote too, including the CEO. So isn't that your right? How's an entity, a company? Next thing the churches will want to vote. Right? So there are already people who absolutely do not understand why we have this thing called this separation of church and state for a reason. And you wonder why the UFOs are coming down to observe the monkeys to see if we're going to make it past our own Fermi paradox scenario, because we're constantly trying to create ways for our society and our species to come to a horrible end. And most of us understand that. Most of us are smart enough to understand it, empathetic enough to understand it. Yet, too many of us are manipulated or scared or so busy just trying to get by. I mean, I work my ass off all week, like a lot of people. I work awful hours. I put in 15 hours yesterday or Thursday. So I was out all night, or late night, and then Sunday night I'll be out all night. I mean, it's just how I get my hours. It's all over the damn place, and some days are worse than others. And 15 hours, 90 degrees outside, it was pretty nasty, humid-wise, and everybody going on about a heat wave. There ain't no heat wave. Ask some folks down in Texas what a freaking heat wave is. I know what heat waves are, and this is Iowa. We'll get ours. We'll get ours. We'll have a couple week stretch there where it's 100 plus, and you're out there dying, trying not to have a coronary in the heat. That poor postman and his family, just trying to do his damn job. And somebody someplace should have said, "Look, dude, no offense to the postman, I give him kudos for his effort. I think personally he failed himself. He should have said no. You have to look after you first. You have to look after you first, and then everybody you care about, and then everybody around you in your larger circle, and then eventually the world." And if we stop caring at some point along the way, or we just don't have enough effort and time to do that, everything starts to suffer, and then eventually it affects even you personally. It's nice to see more of the media talking about this UFO stuff as if it's there's some validity to it or not. But once again, the corporate media, paid media, there's a huge disparity in a lot of things that they do. At the end of the day, it's all about money, and it's always been that way. In the capitalistic society in America, with our democracy established with the idea that we uphold, even though in reality we are not a democracy, and America has never been a democracy. It's not. It's right there in the goddamn frickin' paperwork that runs the government. We are a republic. Like old Rome and old Greece. Not a damn democracy. Democracy is a fallacy. If we were a true democracy, one person, one vote for everything. Unfortunately, that sort of thing also doesn't work so well. I mean, you can't get most of the population to come to a consensus, which is where we're at now. We are facing that crisis right now in America, where we have too many people who absolutely cannot compromise anymore. They will not compromise. They will settle for the worst nightmare possible as long as it's their side that's in charge of it. I don't get it. I don't understand any of that mindset, any of it. So once again, the big main media, there's no value, there's no real money to be made in large going after this UFO, because we've done this UFO thing before and nothing comes out of it. And our government's really good about doing Texas sidesteps around it. They talk a lot of talk. NASA talks a lot of talk. But who's NASA at the end of the day? The government. They're a government-run entity. But don't kid yourself. You think private industry, the private enterprise is going to go on about it? So more and more of our privately owned space corporations are sending vessels and people into space. It's still tightly controlled by NASA and the government. Yeah, they're keeping a tight rein on that stuff, even though they're giving them free rein to do a lot of stuff. But we haven't had too many of their pilots go, we've seen something, or we have something on video. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. But we haven't had nearly as many flights as NASA has. So give them time. And then there's all the equipment and hardware. So all the hardware we got hovering around in orbiting the planet, or just standing stationary, I guess, if you're a believer in the flat earth theory bullshit. Really. Most of these would-be flat earthers, in my opinion, are just obstructionists. You just do it to be, a pain in the ass. You do it so you can argue and take some perverse satisfaction and seeing frustration on the normals side of things. The fucking planet's round. It's a sphere. It's a goddamn planet. It's not hard. All you gotta do is look at the other shit around. And it's how it works. I guarantee you, if you flap your arms hard enough, you can go from one side. You can crawl the entire planet and come right back to where you took off from. And you can't do that if you're going in a straight line, unless the planet's got a curve. I ain't got a fancy ass diploma or degree to know that. Kind of basic stuff. Guess we don't want to know about basic crap anymore, because it's all made up lies. It's false. It's false narrative, false flag. Yes, well, all these UFOs, right, could very well be a false flag or a false narrative, and tied in part to distract and just come look at the shiny crap over here. Don't look at all this stupid crap we're trying to bury over here. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought, I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to say something about it. It's always nice to see other things crop up. There's a lot of things going on out there in the world that's unexplained or not explainable, or we don't have the time or effort or resources or wish or desire to try to nail down and explain it. So be it. It is what it is. Till next time, I'm Rick, and hey, you ain't. So, here's my Battletech ending. Because you want the cat girls to exist.